Welcome, everyone. I hope you all had a great Labor Day weekend. I'm happy that you're able to make it. Hopefully, you're not too tired or maybe a little more relaxed. We have some important information coming towards you today. I'm very excited to have Grant Jackson with us. He is the Vice President of Spurlonga Data and Analytics. I met his team just a few months ago, and they have a really interesting solution for reporting rental payments, and he'll be talking about that today in depth, as well as how you can get to know credit reporting a little better. So before we get started, I do want to just bring up that we are going to have about a 35-minute session and then a 10 to 15-minute Q&A afterward. So it's going to be relatively short, but please stick around and keep your questions for the end. Make sure to put them in the question and answer box so that I can go ahead and read those questions off to Grant. We will have the full recording available for you tomorrow as usual via email. I'll also send you Grant's information and the PowerPoint slides as well. So with that being said, we're very thrilled to have you here, Grant, and I'd love for you to take it away and get started.
Thank you so much, Alexandra. It's really a pleasure to be here. Thank you all for joining. Big thank you to AAOA. They're really a great organization to work with. As Alexandra said, my name is Grant Jackson. I'm the Vice President of Spurlonga Data. I'll be taking you on a little tour of credit reporting today. So today we're going to be looking at several topics. A brief overview of credit reporting and the history of the credit reporting agencies, the science behind how the credit bureaus determine credit scores, how and when payments are reported to the credit bureaus, how credit reporting has changed in recent years to favor tenants and consumers, how credit reporting delinquent rent payments to the credit bureaus without using a collection agency or court judgments. Really the key to our whole service here. And how to incentivize tenants to pay rent on time, how to use credit reporting tools to get better quality tenants and keep them longer. And we'll be reviewing some legal protections provided under the FCRA, that's the Fair Credit Reporting Agency, or Act. First, a little background on Spurlonga. Our founders have been involved in every aspect of the mortgage credit life cycle, working with top 50 mortgage lenders, banks, and investors. We provide payment reporting services to the HOA, homeowners association, condominium association industry, multifamily, single-family rental, auto finance, consumer finance, self-storage. But really, after years of working in the mortgage servicing side, we became obsessed with solving the nation's delinquency epidemic. We work with over 400 property management companies representing millions of doors nationwide in every major metro, coast to coast, and in Hawaii. To start, we can look at a little history on the credit reporting. You know, who owns it, who uses it today, where it came from. You know, credit reporting is nothing new. It's been around for over 100 years. It began with merchants, you know, 100 years ago. If John Adams wanted to buy a ream of fabric on credit, the merchant would then call around town asking, who is this guy John Adams, right? Can I trust him? And that was, you know, time consuming and a bit of a pain, obviously. And, you know, that really grew into a merchant run bureau where they had lists of everyone and whether they're credit worthy, whether they were not. And that's grown into these, you know, multinational companies now, the big three, Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. And so, you know, when you think about it, who's reporting today? Why do people report, right? And reporting consumer payments to the CRAs, the credit reporting agencies, it's a financial management tool that is most commonly used by banks, credit card companies, mortgage lenders, auto industry. And creditors and debt owners, such as apartment owners and management companies, also now have the ability under the Fair Credit Reporting Act to report both paid and unpaid rent payments and late charges. Beginning this year, sole proprietors have now been approved to report to the credit agencies. But previously, that was only available to companies, LLCs, corporations. But now sole proprietors can report through Sperlonga's member number. So that's a long, long, hard battle. So a little bit on the credit score. Every person in America has a 3-digit score assigned to them. This score is incredibly important, but most people don't fully understand really how powerful it is. It controls every aspect of your life: where you live, what kind of car you drive, where you go to school, your insurance premiums, cell phones, how many lines can you get at T-Mobile. I just got DirecTV. They ran a credit check on me to see if I can get a 5th box. Whether you can get 12-month 0% interest on that TV that you wanted. It's that granular. And it's really, the credit score is really the fabric that holds our economy together. If banks and lenders don't know who is creditworthy, they don't lend. And if they don't lend, our economy grinds to a halt. So, how do they come up with this number, right? That's always a big question. And what's it really for? It's designed to measure the risk of default by taking into various factors in a person's financial history. The exact formula for calculating credit scores are a secret. That algorithm is held very close to the vest and is the secret sauce of the credit reporting agencies. But they have disclosed the following components, as you see here on the screen. 35% of your credit score is made up of your payment history. 30% is your debt burden. 15% is the length of credit history. 10% is the credit mix or types of credit used: installment, revolving, consumer finance, mortgage, now rental. And then 10% is recent searches for credit. Have you applied for a whole bunch of loans all at once? And as you see here, the most important factor of the consumer credit score is the payment history, which rental payment reporting affects with a weight of 35%. And debt burden, which the rental balance will affect if it goes unpaid, with a 30% weight. So with tenant rental reporting, we're impacting 65% of their score. So it's a really powerful tool. A little bit on what we're governed by, which is the Fair Credit Reporting Act. This was passed in 1970, so it's again been around for decades. And Congress found a need for fairness and accuracy of reporting. The banking system is dependent upon fair and accurate reporting. Unfair credit reporting methods undermine public confidence. This is essential to the continued functioning of the banking system. Like we said earlier, if they don't have confidence on who they're lending to, they don't lend. They're very risk averse. But then, the FCRA protects the consumer. There are some consumer protections in there, but really a lot of the act was really designed to protect the data furnisher. When they set this all up, they're going to the CEO of Bank of America and said, look, we're setting up the credit reporting agencies. We're setting up this credit score. We want you to send us your client's payment history every month. And you can imagine the CEO of Bank of America, what are you talking about? I got 30 million clients. How many lawsuits am I going to get? don't worry, we're going to set up the FCRA to protect you, the data furnisher. So really, there are a lot of protections in there for the data furnisher. And we'll get into that a little bit later, a little more detail. We get lots of questions on the FDCPA versus FCRA, which is the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act versus the Fair Credit Reporting Act. They're very different. We are not a collection agency. This reporting is all governed under the Fair Credit Reporting Act, not the FDCPA. While this reporting does have a massive effect on collections, you don't have to worry about the FDCPA and any violations there, where you can, do anything wrong. You call after 7:30, you put the stamp on sideways, whatever. You can get in a lot of hot water, even with the help of professional legal team. But you don't have to worry about that with the FCRA. We don't call tenants, we don't send hate mail or nastygrams, nothing. We just report. And this reporting follows the same guidelines as a mortgage or credit card. The simplicity of it is what makes it so effective. All right, so just like a mortgage, the rent's due on the first, the bill's due on the first. There's a 30-day grace period. We look back on day 32 and say, did you pay your rent on time or not? It's very binary. It's a 1 or a 0. You can't report, you can only report on the rent and the rental late fees. You can't include balances comprised of fines or violations or legal. So it's laser focused on that rent. And really, it's nothing that can be argued. It's either you paid on time or you didn't. So it makes it very, very, very easy conversations to have. Now, circling back a little bit on the legalese and what's afforded to the data furnisher under the FCRA, tremendous protections provided by the for the data furnisher. There's no furnisher liability, right? Even if you report inaccurately, the FCRA provides immunity to data furnishers from consumer lawsuits. Okay, only government agencies can pursue violations, and and that's really one of my favorite parts of the whole system. Because you don't get immunity in this world for anything, unless you're a political aide. But a tenant cannot sue you because they're dissatisfied with their credit score. All they can do is file a dispute. Now, if information that is part of our service, right? We do all the reporting, but we also handle all the customer service. So a data furnisher does have a responsibility to investigate a dispute, right? If a tenant or anyone, credit card company, mortgage, if you file a dispute to the credit agencies, that data furnisher must investigate. Now, we handle that whole piece for you. That's the other half of our service, and we indemnify you. All of our partners, because we manage that whole process. Data furnishers are required to investigate once a dispute's been logged. We handle the timelines. You have to investigate within a 30-day period. And, it's really simple. There's 3 resolutions. It's either accurate, 99.9% of the time, it's inaccurate, or it's inconclusive. The only thing we need from time to time is check verification. If tenant calls in to the credit reporting agencies, those calls are directly routed to our customer service center. If they call you, we like to train on the talk track. Happy to help, no problem. We actually have an entire division set up for that. You can reach them at 888-555-1212. And because we manage the whole process for you, like I said, we hold harmless and indemnify all of our partners for any FCRA violations. Just to give you an idea, if you get an alert tomorrow on your Credit Karma account, let's say you missed a payment on your Macy's card, and you say, well, what's going on? I've never had a Macy's card. You can't sue Macy's. You can't sue TransUnion. All you can do is file a dispute, and then there'll be an investigation. And then that's either going to be accurate or inaccurate. Really simple. And that kind of brings us to where we are today. All of the current delinquency practices are really outdated. They're reactive. They don't leverage technology. Demand letters, certified mail, collection attorneys, litigation, personal judgments. It's $800, $1,000 to get a personal judgment, plus you got to go down to court. Evictions. You evict somebody, they've left on the rent. Now you've got a hole in that rent. You got to go through the whole process to run credit on someone else, find a new tenant. And now you can't even evict with Corona. And many people think Corona is going to be here for 3 more years to even 5 years. So this is something we've really got to adjust to. And most people don't know as well, in 2017, when the National Consumer Assistance Plan came into effect, all the previous judgments and liens that you may have previously paid for across the country were purged from the consumer's credit report. So, and that was simply a fact that most of these liens and judgments didn't have personal identifying information attached to it, so security numbers, date of birth, so they couldn't say 100% is connected to this person. And so that's been all wiped from everyone's credit file. Now, there's just stand on that topic there, credit reports, which you're probably familiar with, running a credit report versus, credit score reporting, right? And I think there's a big distinction to be made here. Credit reports contain a goldmine of information for the prospective landlord. You can find out, for example, if a particular person has ever filed for bankruptcy, has ever been late or delinquent in paying credit card or auto loans. And as we learned earlier, you're using the person's credit score as a predictor to determine what the odds are that they will miss payments, right? That's how the banks use it. The lower the credit score, the more likely they will be to miss a payment. And conversely, the higher the score, the more likely they will be to pay on time. Now, there's a big difference between running or pulling someone's credit report versus reporting on their payment history to the credit agencies. All right, so using the credit report to profile your tenants is a guess, right? It's an educated guess using the data and information you have to predict whether they'll pay or not. But it's only good as the information you're privy to. And, like I said, they could have a lien or judgment that's already been removed, or several of them due to the 2017 changes. So it's still a guess, right? And you're going to use this data to try to predict what the probability of them paying is and whether they're going to be a good tenant. Now, that's what you're currently used to versus reporting the rental payment history to the credit agencies, right? Here you're actively affecting monthly the probability that they're going to pay by rewarding them with positive points for on-time payments or penalizing them with negative points for late payments. So it's not a sort of a hope and pray approach, but rather you have your thumb on the scale. You can encourage the kind of behavior that you want using technology, using and leveraging the power of the credit score, and the credit reporting agencies, multinational, multi-billion-dollar companies, to make sure your cash flow is coming in like clockwork each month. And that's massive. You get to act like Visa, right? If you call Visa this month and say, hey, I don't want to pay my credit card bill, they don't care. They don't blink. They don't get a lawyer, have meetings, panic, send demand letters, and all that stuff. They just say, hey, look, Grant, it's your credit score. If you don't want to pay, knock yourself out. But try that for 2 months and see how that treats you, and give us a call back and let us know how you want to make payment. That's just how powerful the credit score is. The mortgage industry, their delinquency rate is super low. And, it's not, people don't not pay their mortgage payments because they're worried the bank is going to foreclose. You can stay in a house 2-3 years without the bank foreclosing. That's the last thing a bank wants. They don't want your house on its books. People pay their mortgage on time because it's reported to the credit bureau. And so at Spurlonga, that's what we've done. We built a technology platform that aggregates the nation's data and makes it possible for everyone to report. You've had this ability to report payment history for quite some time. You just haven't had a vehicle to do it. And, again, we report on time and late payment history monthly. It's the same system that the mortgage, credit card, auto industries have used for decades. And you're able to report previous tenant deficiencies as well. Now, that's something new we've added that we've been getting asked a lot about, which is, you've got somebody that's walked off, you send it to a collection agency, you got to split 40% with them, they can't find them, even if they can, you only get a portion of that back. So it's very, very, again, powerful tool to look at previous deficiencies. And you can really think of us just as a very fancy fax machine, right? We take the ledger information you provide us, ones and zeros, turn them into X's and O's, and deliver it to the credit agencies in a format and consistent basis that they can handle. We're actually a fully automated and integrated system. We've created an automated technology that integrates with the management software system. So, we have custom API integrations with 15 different management software platforms now, and that list of requested integrations just grows by the week. So if you are on a professional management software platform like a Rent Manager or Sync or something like that, this just runs in the background with no effort on your end. If you don't have one of those software packages, then and you're using QuickBooks or Excel, something like that, no problem. You can then just deliver us an Excel template that we'll provide you, filled out each month. You send that over, and we can process it just like that. This is a look at inside our portal. This is what we see and what our customer service folks will see as well. And we see, this is just their full ledger. New resident initiation fee, $300. New resident prorated fee, $400. They made a lockbox payment, check number 9395. They made another lockbox payment, check 9396. So when that, a customer calls in, has a dispute, if there's has an inquiry, we can just pull up their record. We'll know exactly what's going on, and if they have an issue or something different than what we see, we'll work it out with them and reach out to you, do some verification there. But it's really straightforward. Like I said, 99.9% of the reporting is always accurate. Things do happen. Post office, we have a huge client in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Tulsa, Oklahoma's post office went on strike. So, but we're able to handle any of those situations that may arise. This is another look at our portal. You may be familiar with this structure. Most credit card companies are actually adding this payment history profile to your invoice. So you can see January, February, March, so sort of a monthly look here. Green is paid, red is late. You can kind of see that as it moves through the month by month. Now, again, you know, at the end of the day, what we're talking about here, you know, is changing payment behavior. And you can think of credit reporting as guardrails, really, to drive the kind of payment behavior you want. Right? And payment behavior is just a function of its consequence. If you want something to continue, you reward it. If you want something to stop, you penalize it. On-time payments result in positive points, which can translate to lower rates on your credit cards, lower rates on auto loans, lower rates on mortgages. And conversely, late payments result in negative points. And, you know, this is really the true power of the credit reporting for owners, investors, and management companies. You know, the tenant cannot go anywhere or do anything until they settle their outstanding balances with you. You know, the negative reporting will continue month after month until they pay or they reach out and ask to go onto a payment plan. Right? Again, that's the behavior you want. You need to pay on time or communicate to me that you've got a problem. Don't just duck and dodge. You know, and if they go onto a payment plan and you accept, that's your prerogative, then they will be reported current, paying as agreed. So no one ever has to be reported delinquent. They can either pay on time like they're supposed to, or, you know, reach out and go onto a payment plan. You accept. Now, if they breach that payment plan, then they'd begin negative reporting again. So, and it's also a really powerful differentiation tool when you're onboarding new accounts. And you know, many of the folks on the call are property management companies. You know, if I'm an investor and I've got a portfolio of homes and I'm looking for someone to manage them, all things being equal, you know, I want every tool possible to guarantee my cash flow. One management company does credit reporting, one doesn't. You know, naturally, they're going to go to the management company that provides the most options. You know, and really the kicker is it's so cheap. You know, the service is so inexpensive. It's $1 per reported account per month. There's a small monthly maintenance fee that varies based on the size of your portfolio, and that's managed in the intake of the data, processing the data, and dealing with any dispute resolution. Right, and you really only have a cost the first year, right? You just raise the rent, by $1 or $2 next year, totally covered. You know, this reporting provides protection to the property owner, even if you don't have delinquencies, right? And it protects against future market segment downturns. The companies we've been working with for, before COVID are in such a better shape than the folks that are, running to us now. And that's, they had this in place. But, these kind of market crashes and cyclical reoccurrences and problems, they're going to happen. The most important piece is, do you have protection when it happens again? And you can deploy this now and really see a rapid change. So I know we're a little short on time today. I wanted to give you guys just a nice overview of the service, the history of the credit reporting, how it works. You'll receive a registration question asking if you'd like some more information on this. If you answer yes to that, that will allow AAOA to connect Spurlonga with you, and we can set up some time for an individual consultation. I think that just went out.
Perfect. Yes. Thank you for providing that. For those of
Sure.
you on the call, the poll is live, so please answer yes if you would like us to connect you with Spurlonga data. Honestly, Grant, like that was really interesting. I think a lot of people really don't think that they can report people's rent payments on their credit report because really, I mean, up until I spoke with you all, I didn't know that there was a company that could do it. I thought this was really just limited to like really large corporations and property management companies, and that they had to have some sort of property management software or something like that in order to do it, maybe with like thousands of units or something. And so to be able to provide a solution like this that's for the smaller landlord is really amazing to me. And I think that I wish more people really knew about this, especially now because you are so limited with your ability to evict. So this is a great way to reward people during a time of crisis who are able to pay, and then also maybe get some people more motivated to pay on time who can pay on time, who maybe are reconsidering whether or not they should. So I think that's really where this comes from. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, and it's just become really available, within the last 6 to 8 months. We've been working on a long time with the credit reporting agencies to provide this comprehensive ability to report on time and late payments, and that's really where you see the power. It's reporting the late payments,
Yep.
And it's really easy to sign up. We've got a quick DocuSign. We get you credentialed with the credit reporting agencies and the data furnisher. We have tenant notification templates that folks can use. Legally, you don't have to notice your tenants that you're going to be reporting. You own the debt. You're allowed to report on the debt. But it is a best practice. If I'm a tenant and I don't know this is happening, I don't know to change my behavior.
Sure, right. I mean, you might as well tell them. I mean, if anything, I would use it as a
Right.
marketing tool. If you have a vacancy and you're looking at competing with a bunch of
Absolutely.
other properties, especially now in certain areas, I know vacancy rates are higher than they were before. You could definitely say something like, we help boost your credit score, because you do, right? So if you start reporting it,
right here.
totally.
Rent with us, build your credit score. When you're ready to buy a house, you're going to get the lowest mortgage rate. And that's really where you keep the client retention. People come in and they say, look, I want to buy a house in the future. Oh, this is great. I can build my credit the entire time I live here. And that's, again, how you retain your clients. They continue to stay with you. They don't want to move because the next place they move to doesn't have credit reporting. So
Yeah, and it's common sense.
Keep building it.
Yeah, it's common sense.
Right.
You want a good thing, you reward it. You want to stop a bad thing, you de-incentivize it, maybe provide some immediate consequence. And so now you guys don't have to have your hands tied behind your back. You have some options here to help move that process along. All right, I'm getting a little too excited, so I'm going to go into questions because I know you guys all do have some. So let's go ahead and ask you all here. The first one here is, last year I had a tenant that had damages and they owe, it looks like almost $5,000 at this point. They're thinking to do a small claims court case, but is there a way to report a debt like that to credit agencies without having to do a court judgment, or is it just for unpaid rent?
Yeah, it's laser focused to the rent, unpaid rent, and rent late fees. So we can't throw in damages. Nothing that can be argued, right? They may say they didn't do it. It was somebody else. It was the unit above. And just to let everybody know, you send something like that to a collection agency, they do report on the credit, but they only do it once. A lot of collection agencies say, yeah, we report to the credit bureaus. But it's really, they only do it once, and it goes on the public part of the person's consumer credit score, right? It's not, what we have here is a revolving trade line, like a mortgage every month. So, I mean, you can, that would be my really only best recommendation, unless they have unpaid rent. Because you start reporting that rent, we can still report that balance. Many consumers are not sophisticated enough to really understand that we're only reporting on the rent. They see this as going to the credit bureaus and, oh man, I've got to pay everything. So many people do get just a full payoff.
Yeah, that is a strategy I've heard of. And I think too, you know, if you do go to small claims court, that is something you can still do for damages, even with the eviction moratorium. You still have a right to, you know, have those cases heard. It doesn't have to do with non-payment of rent. You know, this is something that the tenant carelessly did to damage your property. You can certainly still take that to court. Now, courts are really tied up, obviously, and a lot slower, but other than that, you know, you should still be able to go to court. And then if you get a judgment, like, you know, Grant was saying, you can just, you know, put that on the credit report as a collection that one time. So that's a good point. Okay, so the next one here is, with many COVID-related restrictions from different levels of government on collecting rent currently, can we still use this tool to report unpaid rent? That's a great question.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the, you know, it just goes to the importance of the credit score and the power of the credit reporting agencies. The banks need that data. We need to report this information. Congress is encouraging it all the time. The better, more clear picture we can paint of a consumer, the happier the whole financial world is. So
yeah, absolutely.
Nothing's going to stop credit reporting.
Yeah, and in fact, as far as I've seen, there hasn't been anything specifically noted in regards to credit reporting and how that's affected by coronavirus. It seems to be more so about giving people a home. So the intent behind the most recent legislation that just was out last week, that's basically a federal eviction moratorium, is really so that people don't have to be homeless and then are able to spread the virus. You know, they're able to stay contained in their home. And that's kind of was the idea behind it. That really doesn't have anything to do with credit reporting. So I think we're in the clear for now.
It doesn't protect the owner investor. I mean, that's the biggest problem with this.
I know. Yeah.
You know, they still have to make their payments. They still have to pay their notes, their loans. I mean, it drives me crazy.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I have a question from Nish, which is interesting. I can answer the first part. Maybe Grant, you can, you know, expand on it. He's asking, can you ask tenants to prepay their rent? The answer to that is yes, and especially now, you could get somebody to do that. That's amazing, because that means you have that rent money guaranteed in your pocket. The only, I guess, disadvantage maybe if you maybe had an issue other than rent payments and you had to go through an eviction and maybe they've already paid you rent, there might be some logistical things there. But I mean, if you're able to get the rent up front right now, that's probably not a bad idea. But if that's the case, then question to you is, then how would you report that? Would you be able to, like, just keep reporting it even though they already paid you one lump sum?
Exactly. So it's a nice kicker, right? You can, if you're asking for, you'd like to be paid early, and you say, hey, I'll give you a discount. You can then say, plus, I'll give you 12 months of positive credit reporting.
That sounds like a great deal.
Pay in full, right? You know, you get a discount on your rent, plus you get 12 months of positive credit reporting. So yeah, if they pay in full, we're still going to report every month, but they're paid for the year, so we're going to give them 12 months positive reporting. We see that a lot on the HOA side, you know, where you have an annual assessment. People pay for the whole year. January 1, they get 12 months positive reporting, or quarterly or biannually.
Interesting. And then, so that's moving forward. What about moving back? How far back can you go for someone who didn't pay rent?
So we don't go back in time to report instances of missed payments, but we do we do carry a balance forward, right? So if they owe you $5,000 and they haven't paid rent for 5 months, we don't day one turn it on and they get hit with 5 months of missed payments, right? You know, they'll have one. You know, you send out the tenant notification. As soon as you notify people, really they start to pay. You know, say, hey, look, we're starting this next month. Now's a great time to get your house in order. You'll start seeing money come in. But day one, we will say, look, you are delinquent and you have a balance of $5,000. And we don't go back and show all those, like those little boxes we saw earlier, the payment history profile. We won't fill those up all with red.
And likewise,
go forward basis.
From Philip, does that also then applies to positive payments too? So you also can't go back and say, you know, we want to report last 5 months positively paid. It's just only moving forward, right? Okay.
On a go forward basis. And same with old deficiencies. I know that's a big hot topic for folks. You know, many of our clients, you know, they actually have more old deficient accounts than they have leasable units. You know, and it's just, you know, those delinquencies have built up over the years, and people have, you know, like our clients tell us, you know, it's cheaper for people to pack up their stuff sometimes and leave than to pay what's owed. And once they leave, it's hard to track them down. You get skip tracers and all this stuff trying to get to them. But you know, with credit reporting, they can move to Timbuktu. Your social security number and your credit score are in the cloud. You cannot hide from them. You know, and like I alluded to earlier, you know, they can't do anything else with their money. You know, they can't go get a Best Buy card. They can't go buy a new car. They, you know, a lot of our clients say they haven't paid rent in 3 months and they just drove home with a new Mustang. You know, a manager told me that the other day, and I it's driving me crazy. So here, like they try to go buy that new Mustang. They say, oh, sorry, Mr. Jackson, you know, the price I quoted you over the phone was for this financing, and we just pulled your credit. You don't have the score that you told us you did, and I can't offer you that, you know, good interest rate. You know, if you clear this up with Peachtree Apartments or, you know, 125 Main Street, that'll all go away, and we can get you that good interest rate. So it boxes them in. So again, you know, do the things you want. You know, the kind of payment behavior you're looking for.
Absolutely. And do those reporting those payments that get reported, are those reported to all 3 credit bureaus or just a couple?
Sure. So we report to Equifax and TransUnion. Experian, we're still in negotiations with on, you know, pricing. You know, they're all 3 a team, if you will. They all have to approve a new trade line like rental, but they are all their own independent businesses. Equifax allows reporting for free right out of the gate. TransUnion has a small setup fee, and Experian, they want a large setup fee and monthly payments on top. So we're still beating them up a little bit. But as long as you're reporting on 2, you know, 1 is great. I mean, one really is great. But if you report on 2, when a person goes and has their credit pulled, you know, and they're doing a big purchase, they do what's called a tri-merge, and they take, you know, all 3 reports, and then they take the middle one. So if you're reporting on, you know, 2 of the credit reporting agencies, you're always going to show up on that middle report. So, you know, getting the 3rd, it doesn't really do much as far as, you know, more impact. But even reporting just to 1 is great.
I think so, definitely. And I think that, you know, most of the time for larger purchases, you're right, it is a tri-merge. And so that's definitely going to affect them in some way or another. And then another question too, because I think we've had some similar kind of questions. So is this on an as needed basis? Like, can you just report when you want? Or does it have to be every single month once you get started, let's say with Sperlonga data?
Right. So a lot of variables to that question. Good question. First, if it really, there's it depends on the type of business you're in, right? So if you're for a management company, if you have a building of 10 units that you manage, so you have 2 buildings of 10 units, you can deploy the credit reporting on one building and not the other. That's fine. But if you deploy the reporting on one building, you have to deploy it on all the units, on all 10. The F in the FCRA is fair, right? So you can't segment the population of a community for any reason: race, creed, religion, payment status. You have to treat everyone fairly and equally. So if you're going to report credit, the payment to the credit bureaus for everybody in that unit, you have to do it for everybody. So anybody that pays on time, they get positive points. Anybody that pays late, they get negative. For single family homes, particular units, you can, they're not connected, right? So you can report on some of your portfolio and some not. What was the first part of that question? Turn that back to me again. It was, you got muted there, Alexandra. There's a multi-part.
There we go. No worries. I think you answered it pretty well, but I think the follow-up to that, at least, is it's just $1 a month for each rental unit, right? So why wouldn't you? Because that encourages it.
Exactly.
Encourage the person to keep paying rent. It gives them a benefit, and it's only $1, right?
Right. Exactly. On an as-needed basis. So we do have a year-long commitment. That's
Okay.
We don't do
That
a
makes
month-to-month
sense.
agreement. We do a 1 year. We do a 1 year, 12-month agreement, and then at the end of that, most everybody continues. So,
Yeah, I imagine. The other thing too,
on the
is there
HOA
any?
side, it's a 3 year.
Oh, go ahead. Okay.
No,
Is there?
on the HOA side, we have a 3-year agreement that we standard.
Got it. Is there any sort of like upfront setup fees that you have in place?
Yeah, we have a setup fee of $1.25 per door, just to get you onloaded to the system. We do some data testing. So, we have 10 units. It's really inexpensive.
Oh wow, yeah, it really is.
But that's just it takes some effort to get that done. $12 to load that up, $12.50, whatever it is.
Sure. And do you have a minimum number of rental units that you accept?
We used to, but we're so excited that sole proprietors can now use this. So we have our first, a couple months ago, our first 1-unit client. So, and that's, we really are excited about that because we wanted to make this available to everyone, right? And a lot of folks, if they didn't have a big management software system, if they weren't a big investor, they didn't have a large enough portfolio, they couldn't do it. And now you can. So there's answer is no. One unit is all you need.
That's great. And then someone else asked if you're integrated with Entrata. I don't know if you've heard of that software, but
yep.
I'm sure you have some. Yeah.
We have heard of them, and they are on our integration queue.
Nice.
And just so everyone, we kind of do it. Our integration, we stack rank it based off the scope of opportunity, and then how many people have signed up with us that are partners with them. So, somebody like a Tops or whatever, they have 8 million units. That was our first integration. And kind of moves around like that. But you can certainly set it up to just deliver a report each month in Excel while these integrations continue. I mean, the goal is to have a fully automated system. You turn it on, you forget about it. We handle all the reporting, we handle all the customer service, you collect the checks.
That sounds easy. So for someone else here asking if does the tenant have to be 30 days delinquent to be reported as late, even if a lease has no grace period?
Yes, yes, they do. So
Okay.
your lease may have a grace period of, or no grace period. Day one it's due on the first. Day two, technically they're late, right? Many companies have apply the late fee on the third, and then used to jump right in, and by the fifth they're started eviction proceedings. The grace period is applied by the Fair Credit Reporting Act, and so again, we all follow the same rules: mortgage, credit card, auto loan, rental, 30-day grace period. So you can apply your late fees. We look back on day 32 and look back and say, did you pay or not? They have up until the end of that month to pay, to not be reported delinquent, but they still may incur a late fee on your side, and on the landlord side. But you can also proceed with any other thing you like. If you got a great lawyer, or your cousin's your lawyer and does it all for free, it'll just work hand in hand with them as a sort of a collection policy best practice.
Okay, that makes sense. And for someone who's signing up with you, how long does it usually take going from the signing up to then starting the reporting? Is it instant? Does it take a month?
Usually it takes about a month. We do have to get the client credentialed by the credit reporting agencies as a data furnisher. That takes a little bit of time, and then we'll do some data testing on the information that you're providing us, whether it's through an API integration or the template. We want to look at that, understand each client's charge codes or status types, those kinds of things. So takes about a month, and you want to give as soon as you decide to sign up, I recommend sending the tenant notification template to your clients, just so you can get ahead of the curve. So as soon as you get the member numbers and you're credentialed officially as a data furnisher, you can start reporting right away.
Great. And then another good question here. So you said it was $1 per unit, but if there's 2 leaseholders in the apartment and you want to report on both of their credit reports, would it be $2 or still just one?
Still just one. So
Okay.
It goes off the leased unit. So we're looking at the leases. If you have 4 leases in one unit, it'd be $4. So it'd be reporting on 4 different people. So if you have 4 separate leases, but if you have one lease with 2 people on it, both are getting reported $1. And that monthly, $1 monthly charge, that's going to fluctuate from time to time, depending on, if you have several units, right? We're only reporting on what's leased, right? You may have a building of 10, but only 8 are reported or leased. We're only reporting it's $8.
Okay.
And the next month it goes to 9. It goes to 9. Next month it goes to 7. 7 gets fully rented, $10.
Got it. Okay. Someone asking if you're integrated with Buildium yet.
They are, again, still on our integration role.
They take a while to approve too, from what I hear.
Yeah.
So it's not
We're making progress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. It does take a little while.
Been a little bit for Buildium, but yes. But again, now that we due to some of this time, because it's not just us, right? Many software companies are coming to us and asking to integrate, so they're engaged. Sometimes we go out to a company that a client has asked us to integrate with, and they don't have the resources to do the development work. So, and that's part of the reason why we've developed the flat file option. So we're, the tenant is, or the landlord is not, waiting on, a building to get done. They can just TPS their Excel spreadsheet and we load it up.
Great. And a question from Debbie, I think I can answer pretty quickly here, is if you offer credit reports. I mean, we offer credit reports. I know a lot of you guys use us for your tenant screening needs. I think the idea here is that once you have screened a tenant and you've signed a lease with them, step 2 should probably be get signed up with Spurlonga data so that you can start reporting those monthly payments to the credit bureaus right away. And your job really is Spurlonga's job is really just to keep those payments constantly reported, ongoing, so that, next time the person, like you were saying, applies for something and their credit gets pulled, their rental payment history is a part of their credit score and something that other lenders can see, or other landlords too. So like, wouldn't it be fantastic if you were renting to someone and you could see exactly when they paid rent or didn't pay rent? Because that's a big issue as well. Unless the landlord takes someone to court and gets an eviction, and now also orders an eviction report, not even a credit report alone can tell you that someone's been evicted. So I think it's really crucial to make sure you do this not just for yourself initially, but also if more people get on board, more people will be able to know about this rental payment history that this person had. I mean, it helps you too, maybe ultimately. So I'd love to see a trade line for rental payments. I've seen very few because, like you said, so up until now, it's only been really large companies, and we look at credit reports all day. I've maybe seen like 4 or 5 since I started working here, ever, and we all gathered around to see it because we'd never seen it before.
What is this? What is this?
Yeah, what kind of a trade line is this? It was like a talk in the office we had because it was so strange and new for us to see, and it was a really, really large property management company. It's one of the biggest companies in the country, and now you all can have that too. That's kind of the idea. So I think that's pretty cool. But so you guys can still keep using us for credit checks, and then they're $19.95.
We don't do that.
Yeah, then we'll send you over to Spurlonga for the rest.
And really, I mean, it's really, really important, though, to make sure you are, you're pulling those credit reports and you are using the data. And like we said earlier, most people don't know that all of those previous liens and judgments were purged from tenants and all consumers' credit reports in 2017. So. Yep. They may have been evicted previously. And, you're not going to see that, or late payments and not a lien.
Yeah, and that's a good plug too for us. We just launched our bankruptcy tax liens and judgments report, which you can add on to any package that you order with us, and that actually will give you the tax liens and eviction data and bankruptcy details that don't appear on the credit report anymore since 2017. So tax liens are also a really big issue for people who owe money to the IRS. That's something you should definitely know about, and now it's not on the credit report at all either. So that's big.
So just to clarify that, they're after 2017, you have to really be meticulous in providing Social Security number, date of birth, all this information, so it will stick and go on to the credit.
That's great.
But even more reason to get those packages. I mean, you need all the information you can get.
Exactly. And quick question too for you. Do you have any sort of like one pager or some sort of handout that our landlords on the call can give to tenants to really get them excited or motivated to pay and really understand what are the benefits and the consequences that come with the credit reporting tool that you have?
Absolutely. I can share that with you.
Great. I'll share that with all of you then. I'll send you all an email tomorrow with that and the presentation, the recording. We have a couple more questions. I think, a few of them are a little more specific. We can dial down. Do you have time to stay on the call? Because we're a little past the hour mark. Is that okay?
I do.
Okay, great. So
Being
we'll keep
sold.
going. So I don't know if you've seen on credit reports, sometimes each trade line can have like a comment on it, and sometimes it'll show like a foreclosure status if it's a mortgage. Andre is asking here, is it possible to show like an eviction status? So if you're reporting it and maybe you're also reporting the late payments with Sprolonga, but then you evict the tenant, is there any way that on that trade line you can show that they were evicted?
That is a good question. I don't, to my knowledge, I don't know of that ability currently,
Yeah.
but we are able to add some comments, and the credit reporting agencies are pretty helpful. So that's something I could run up the flagpole with Equifax and TransUnion and see if there's a way we could add that, because we do have the capacity to make some comments here and there.
Yeah.
So
Because that would be amazing. I mean,
great question. Yeah.
a great way to get around the whole, because the credit bureau doesn't report the eviction record from the court, but they may maybe allow a comment on a trade line that indicates that an eviction may have taken place.
Yeah.
So that's something to look into for
Yeah.
sure. Is your service
Great
available in all
idea.
50 states?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. Um, let's see. Single family house with 6 bedrooms, 6 separate housemates, all on one lease. They all split up their payments in an app. That's still counted as one unit, right?
Yes.
Technically? Okay. So that's still
Mm-hmm.
just the
Yep.
$1 for that unit. Okay, just making sure. And someone else here, Frank, asking if there's an interface on your website where the landlord can log in or the tenant can log in to see their own payment history on like a portal or of some type on your website.
Um, we are working on a new portal right now. There is a new client login, not for the tenant specifically, but another good idea.
Yeah, I think so. And also as well, most tenants, I think, especially now during the pandemic, they are actually able to pull free credit reports on themselves. So, I mean, technically, they'd be able to see their payment history if they pulled their credit report. And there are a lot of services that do offer that and for free, actually, now
Credit
during the
karma.
pandemic. Yeah, so they could definitely pull their own credit and check it out from time to time. And then you should know probably what you reported, right? Because you're keeping track of it too. But it would be nice to see it in
Oh
one
yeah,
place.
we can deliver that, and that'll probably be on the new portal for the landlord and then ultimately the client. Um, we deliver that information monthly. There's lots of analytics that we show, looking at balances, and we can provide a whole host of information to the landlord or management company.
Perfect. Okay. So one last thing before I let you guys go, those of you that are on the call still. So we actually have a really exciting event that's coming up October 14 and 15. It's a 2-day virtual conference. We're going to be having essentially a bunch of speakers that are nationally recognized, experts in everything from evictions to finance to, animals, support animals and fair housing. I really think this is a great opportunity now that we're in this pandemic to really advance our education as landlords. Webinars like these are great, but it's also good to have a community of people to set aside 2 days to really take it all in and learn. So I'm going to drop in here the event link so you all can click on it and check that out. And then hopefully, Grant, we'll have you back at some time maybe next year to kind of give us an update on some of these really cool features that it sounds like you're working on adding. And I'm really glad that we got to tell you all about this because I mean, okay, you can obviously tell I'm really excited about it. I don't really get this excited about most products and services, but I am kind of a data nerd and I do really love the fact that we have some ability to do this that wasn't available before. This is all really new and I think really I mean, pivotal timing. You guys could not have done it at a better time. So thank you, Grant, for coming
And
on.
Alexander,
And yeah.
so I appreciate it very much. I just got passed a little note here too. We are working with the credit agencies to be able to fill up a tenant's past history profile.
Oh, okay.
So remember those
Okay.
green, red boxes? So we are working on that right now. So potentially, don't quote me on it, but potentially could be a functionality.
Okay. That would be huge if it is. But
Yep.
either way, it's still a great tool. I mean, moving forward, I mean, if I were a landlord, I would sign up like ASAP on this. And so the other thing as well, for those of you on the call too, I am going to be sending the recording again, the slides, the contact info. For those of you who did say yes, you want a consult, I'm going to connect you with Sperlonga data. And also, there's an exit survey. I'd love for you guys to take it so that we can, really get to know what your thoughts were on this presentation and what you'd like to hear next as a future topic. So with that being said, I hope you all have a wonderful Tuesday and take care. Bye, everyone.
Thanks so much.